Hey, good morning, good morning. It is 6:31 and it's January 3rd. It is the second day of 2024. Hopefully, you're feeling good. You just came back yesterday. Hopefully you can just jump in if you tried to prepare for the first trading day the way I did. Yeah, I got a little beat up. Had a few leftover January effect names that just didn't go up, and then a few leaders that were trying to base for a month, but profit takers came in, to pay taxes in 2025, and I had a bunch of hedges on, but they weren't enough. It's okay though. Small decisions saved me some money, resituated myself because, I got some price discovery, and it is what it is. Make your bed, you sleep in it, you try and move on, you try and learn from it. Equities didn't start like Bitcoin, making a move out of a tight pattern, which is what Bitcoin did. And here we are where, now the patterns have changed. The speed seems like it changed a little bit. So you got to change with it a little bit. Anyway, my name is Scott Rudler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. Welcome to the 630 Club, where we try and go over the narrative, where things are at. We try and make money actively for a living, as well as situate ourselves for the intermediate long term so we could actually maybe retire with some comfort and send our kids to college without having to take out gazillions of loans or burdening them with loans and then asking for forgiveness. But anyway, we try and take accountability for our actions here. So how do we do that? We try and create a routine that we love doing. Some days are a little tougher to get up. Some days are easier. Today, I thought about a few things last night. Didn't have the best night's sleep, but in decent shape and ready to go. So with that said, here's a chart of the S&P cash. You can see how we did have an ascending channel here, and typically, when you're walking up an ascending channel, if it breaks below a prior low, right there, that kind of should be when you clean some things up. Shows that these little incremental moves up has changed. They did shake the tree a little bit on Friday prior to the new year, which after the size of the move into the 8 day that held, didn't seem like the end of the world. And even yesterday is what it is. But again, when you're above the 8 day moving average, like we've been pretty much for the majority of this trend, when you look for something, different, there was a little bit of something different, we're not close going into the new year. So anyway, yesterday we hit a low of 47.22, which is still above the 21 day. Seems like we're in a little bit of no man's land. The futures are down 14, 15 handles. Europe's down a little bit. Asia's still not down a lot, but hasn't got any real flows. So I feel like more people are like, let me just take a little bit more profits because I don't have to pay taxes in 2025. And we were up so much in October, November, and December that they borrowed a little bit from the start of the year. Anyway, first 5 days are always tricky. You got to see where the new flows are. You got to see what the narratives are, and move your feet pretty fast, or just let things kind of show themselves a little bit more clear. So let's just go to the SPYs for today. I'm still short, or not short. I have a few SPY puts on for Friday. What I did is I had SPY puts on for the 4th, which is tomorrow and Friday through the jobs report. Figured I'd want to have a set on that I could sell, now thinking what needs to happen with the jobs report, and that helped yesterday. At this point, again, this ascending channel, if you look here at this little small topping tail, I guess this could have shown you that, hey, after a move up, the sellers took a little bit of control back, and look how extended we were from the 8 days. So hopefully, I know for me, I only have like a third left of the January effect names on. So there were some good trades there. I had a third left of some of the mega cap tech names that broke out and looked like maybe they can go, and still wasn't the easiest of days. So if you didn't have a great day yesterday, I feel you. So anyway, 470.49 right there. Here's 467. There's your 21 day. Right now the SPYs are down a buck 47, 471.18. By the way, look at the flows that came in at the end of the day. That's by the way, my friends, that's money that has to go in the last 10 minutes. Remember I told you about the blood in the street account? Whenever I want to buy for my wife's blood in the street account, I have to wait for the worst day when we're down over 10%, and she's got to call it in, put the order in, and then they get the closing print. So that's why sometimes on those big down days, if someone wants to buy that dip, they do it that way, or on the big up days, I have to make sure that I sell into that so I capture gains. Right now, there's still only one tier working out of the four. I did not buy a tier of a Blood in the Street account yesterday. That goes to work when we're at least down 5% off the highs or more. Sometimes 10%, it all depends. But anyway, so for a new year, there are a lot of mutual funds, pension funds, 401ks that put their orders in that have to go in on the close. So that's kind of what that was. And at this point, they just basically took it back. So here we are, 141, 471.20. So it's still above yesterday's low. So the question is today, if you're an active trader, you could say, hey, you might buy versus area. It's defined to see if, some buyers come in, or, perhaps it breaks below this and then you see a move to the 21 day. So at this point, we're kind of in a rebuilding mode. Same thing with the Qs. The Qs got, weaker, hit the 21 day first because also it had much a bigger outsized move last year. So kind of borrowed a little bit. So, and then people said, hey, finally, again, you could, pay some taxes in a year from now. So people are just like, I'm just, booking some. But anyway, so for today, you have, what is this, 400.24. The Qs right now are closer to that spot. So do we hold above that spot and build a little bit of a base here, or does it break below and, does it work its way back towards 394 and let the 50-day move up and be a better spot in the days ahead? At this point, it's hard to tell. Took some FOMO out. So what happened was that I posted a chart of Apple, and I'm like, Apple's chart changed tech a little bit. Everyone's like, why did Apple's chart change tech? But I'm like, well, when you have one of the best companies in the world that got a little overvalued because they expanded the PE, and there's some thought that the iPhone is slowing a little bit, even though services are picking up. Then China might say, hey, we're going to be a little bit more nationalistic and buy Huawei or whatever. Anyway, bottom line is Apple, when it kind of lags, it's not a big deal for tech, which is what it did in December. But when it becomes a headwind, and all of a sudden Apple broke, the 8-day right here. Like if you look at Apple, a little bit further out, not the end of the world. It made an all-time high, here. Now there's some bears calling a double top, and then it broke below the 8 and 21 days. So I wasn't long any Apple coming into yesterday, but I had some other tech because Amazon looked okay. Microsoft was a little bit tighter. I got rid of both of those just because it feels like they need time anyway. So when you have a big gap down below the 50-day and a hole in the chart, kind of makes you think some other things might be in a corrective phase. So again, when something's trying to hold the 8-day and you have Apple below the 50-day trying to hold, I think just the 100-day, with the thought of maybe you can get down to the 200-day, which would be a retest of the breakout area from, post earnings, makes people think, they don't have to be in a rush for Microsoft, right? Microsoft was nice and tight. I thought there was a thought that perhaps, didn't do anything for December. It really didn't do much for December at all after making a new all-time high. So I figured maybe new flows could come in, and they didn't. So anyway, I had like a 380 by something call spread. I'm like, you know what? I'm out of that. And I also had some stock on that I got out fast. And now we'll see, can Microsoft hold this 366 area? If not, it's below the 8 and 21 days. So as a active trader, when you want to be in something, it's when it's above the 8 and 21 day, like it has been pretty much since October 30th. This was a strong trend, and now it's in corrective phase, rebuild phase, and needs to prove that it can go in motion again. Listen, if you've been an investor in Microsoft and Apple for 20 years, stay the course. You've done great. That's what you do. If you're trying to get paid monthly and quarterly, you have to be in the motion of the movement, and right now, that's hard to tell. Microsoft, which I have none on anymore, is down 367. So you got to see if this holds, or does this also want to kind of test the 50-day? Because if Apple did it, both of them made new all-time highs last year. Why can't Microsoft do it? So it just puts things a little bit in perspective. And then you have Amazon, which also had this ascending channel here, or triangle, and then on Friday broke below the 8-day to have you reduce some risk, and then came into a prior support area, but still kind of no man's land, barely holding on to the 21-day, well above the 50-day. I know for me, again, trying to just, talk about mistakes. I don't think we really made a mistake because we were buying the 150s and 152s in here. I made really good money as it broke to 155, and then there I switched to the 155s to have a little less equity in it, but still in it just in case it wanted to take out 155, which it didn't. So the runner ran out of gas. So as long as it's a portion and you book some, it's part of using a tier system. And now what's Amazon doing this morning? Amazon's down 40 cents at 149.50, above 148.31. So yesterday gave you new points of reference for a lot of names. And then there were some names that really did work. I was on Fox Business with this was an older guy, really knowledgeable. I don't remember what his name was. Damn it. Anyway, he was all over Pfizer, and Pfizer gave you a nice January effect move. Remember, it came out. I'm like, that could have been the kitchen sink. Well, people are like, what does that mean? Like, sometimes you put all the bad news as much as possible, so just get all the sellers out of there. And then this gap that was here, okay, got filled. So it showed you that when a gap gets filled, sometimes it takes the pressure off. Because if it was that weak, it wouldn't fill the gap. It would have continued lower, like it did here, like it didn't here. So this time it showed you that there were some lower level buyers. Does it mean it's a new trend? It's going to be in a bull crazy market? I don't know, but if you positioned for a trade going into the new year, you made some good money. I actually tried to do it a few times with options last year, and it didn't work. Could have went back to it, I guess, one more time. But anyway, this gap is gone. This gap is now gone, and there was some power yesterday. What I did do is I made some money in Lilly yesterday. Lilly, obviously, everyone knows the whole friggin' craze about, the weight loss medicine that it's supposed to treat one disease, but they use it for weight loss, and because all the celebrities are doing it. Anyway, it's been, this hit 629. It's been sideways, kind of like a mega cap tech name, but it's Lilly and it's a different sector. And because that sector had some movement, they needed a leader, and Lilly went up a bunch. So some guys went with a call spread. I bought the stock yesterday, made some money yesterday, which was nice. So if I would have just came in flat and day traded, would have made some money. And now it's actually up a bit this morning. So again, if you have swing trades and you have a portfolio approach and you're active, that's one thing. If you just try and day trade, that's another thing. If you try and do a little bit of everything and it works, you can make a lot of money. But again, it's all based on your experience. So anyway, we'll see what happens here, if this builds and goes or not. Nice little move yesterday. This was more of the leader of that. To be honest, I believe I went to my sauna today, did a half-an-hour workout. I was in my ice barrel. I think the way you're going to sustain a little bit of a healthier life is not by taking pills or getting something tied. It's by controlling what you can control, and that's your diet, and that's the way you react and your fitness. But I'm not going to get into that whole thing. I'm just an active trader who is a chief strategic officer who's been doing it for 25 years, who's 51 years old, and has a son that I've started early in a lot of different sports. And anyway, just trying to speak from experience. Band-Aids don't help. Usually they just protect you for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you bleed out. So anyway, it's about the mind. And at this point, we'll see how that goes. Gold wasn't strong enough to break out yesterday. It was up early in the morning, and I thought that would help. I still have 2 sets of options on. I'm going to stay with them. It's at, right now on the 8th day. If that doesn't hold, you can still see the 21-day and be fine. Our last really good trade was buying the 50-day into that jobs report, if you remember. The weekly still looks good. The daily still looks good. It's just, an inside day happens. So the question is, how long does it need to stay in here before it tries to get above this 193 and change? Bitcoin, we talked about get above and stay above. Well, it had a good move. Some guys were a little scratching their head on why coin diverged from Bitcoin or Mara diverged. Sometimes it happens in a new year. Those things had big moves. At this point, I don't think, people are like, oh, is Bitcoin a breakout failure? Here's the weekly. Let's go to the daily first. It's hard to tell, but again, if you bought it in this igniting candle over the weekend, it's always good to trim into some strength. And now we'll see, does it hold right here above this area? Thing is, with crypto, it's a little loose and wide, and they like to search for stops, and it could even come into here and still be fine. Same way I told you guys, when I was looking over here, I'm like, guys, just put your stop in below 40, because if they're trying to steal you in here because you're in that halfway mark of the triangle, they're going to steal your lunch. Bitcoin is not so tight. It's loose and wide, and there's people all around the goddamn world trading it. So all trying to take your lunch or breakfast or snack. Anyway, so now see how it holds here. Perhaps it does build another upper area after time. And then again, you go to the weekly chart, which is what people are talking about. Got above 45, trying to clear this inside pennant. Next level is 48 and 55. There is some talk that they might try and sell the news once the actual ETF is approved. It all depends where it is. Sometimes it's like a stock runs from 50 to 100, then reports awesome earnings. It opens up at 110 and then goes up at $10 to negative and down. But, well, the earnings were great. You're like, well, it went from 50 to 100, so it was priced in. If you had a stock that was at 100 trading at 70 going, and then all of a sudden no one's really looking for awesome earnings, and then you have awesome earnings, then it's not priced in, and then you get a gap and go, and it's a different trade. So you got to always look to see where these things came from to know what the potential move could be. And Bitcoin's had a pretty big move leading into the approval stage of some kind of ETF. So we'll see how it handles that. All in all, people are like, what could you have seen in coin? Coin on Friday, broke this upper area, and then you had a few moments to get out before it broke here, and now it's testing the 21-day, which is hasn't been below since 80. So this is a pretty big spot. Let's see what's coin doing this morning. Coin is down another 5. Okay, so again, when you're in a momentum name and you're active, you want to be in it when the 8-day is holding. The 8-day held this entire time. So once it broke the 8-day, it's your job as a trader to say, oh, something changed. And if you did hit it out there, you saved yourself all of yesterday. Now it's down another 5. It's at 150. This low here is this. So it's worth a look this morning. It's not like crypto came in so much. So maybe I'll even look at it this morning. I traded a few times during this trend. I did not do what I did during this trend. I made a lot of money on that move with Mara. This time I was in so many other things, and just it feels like if you're in coin and crypto, it's like you're hyper focused there and you can't miss a thing. Anyway, at this point it's down 6. So this 146 really is what's this? What's this? This high was 147. This high was what? 146.74. This low is, so this 146, 170 is a little bit of no man's land, but I would think, it's worth a spot to see if you see a relative strength divergence to buy a little bit. This was, a decent breakout area. And then below that, you really have nothing all the way down towards the 50-day. So it's either going to hold here and reclaim 155.41 and then take a little pressure off and then see what's next, or not. So if you're trading this, those are my thoughts. What else? There is a lot of geopolitical talk out there now. I know that Israel, what's it called, got after the Hamas in Lebanon, which you're really not allowed to do. It's like a sovereign nation but these guys are such horrible guys that killed 1,000 people plus on October 7th. They deserve what they get, but I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, so we'll see. IWM, you had a little bit of a chance if you went home long IWM. At least this one gave you a little bit of leeway. It opened red and went green because everyone's talking about how great the IWM is going to be. You have Tom Lee saying it's going to be up 50%. I gave you 212 as a spot, and it still could hit 212. Right now it hit 205, but look at the size of this move. So yes, it did give you a little bit of give back and forth. 198.45 is yesterday's low. Right now the IWM is below it, so people losing a little bit of confidence, not a lot. Then you have 196, which is the last gap. So you got to see if that'll too. So if today, if you did reduce when it broke this upper area, or reduce when it broke below the 8-day, you have the opportunity of buying versus the level here. I'm still in some small 205 calls, which again I felt like I was pretty responsible. I was long a lot of calls here for this gap up. I bought calls in here for that. I had a call spread there. Even here, I bought the 205s and then sold the 205s, up here, the 208s to create a call spread that was fully financed. And I said, I have to hold some just in case it continues. And PS, it doesn't look as good as it looked, last week. So anyway, you go to the weekly chart here, and at this point, doesn't, looks still very constructive. You had your move to 205. This is 212. Got above the 199, 202 area. Let it go sideways. It can even pull into here and be fine. Look where the 8-day is on the weekly chart. So it just needs some digestion to go again. There was way too much enthusiasm around the IWM a little later. The real money was made down here when it reclaimed this lower level. We were in that for that CPI, if you remember. But anyway, we'll see how that goes today. So all in all, 651. SPYs are down $1.40. What did we get yesterday? We got new points of reference. What do I mean by new points of reference? It means we know where yesterday's low is. That's all we know as we just entered 2024. So everyone's going to put out their projections, their guesses, or this or that. As an active trader, you want to say, what do you know? You know that the SPY put a low in yesterday. Does it hold above it for a trade? It could. Does it want to do some more downside probing? It might. So just know what you can handle. All in all, someone asked me, do I still think the S&P can get to 51, 5,200? My call was I do think so by the spring. I just didn't know what January, February would bring, that the market got a little ahead of itself. 5 rate cuts with the S&P at weekly and monthly highs, and economic numbers not so bad. I feel like the street had it wrong again, so that's why we got a bounce in rates towards 4%, which makes a little bit more sense. So obviously the market had to come in a little bit on that. So with all that said, at 6:52, I'm going to head and do my 35 charts for the Alpha team, hang out with my crew, my dogs. I'll post a few charts on the public Twitter. I'm still trying to figure out the streamlined process to be able to interact with you guys during the 6:30 club. I have a tech guy coming in today or early next week to help with that. I definitely want to get a little bit more involved with TikTok. I feel like Twitter is becoming a little bit of a pain in the butt with all the different porn that they send you, all the guys that are attaching to my tweets saying, with a fake comment saying this person turned $8,000 into 800 grand. If you see someone that turned $8,000 into 800 grand in 3 days, chances are it's not true. Trading is a grind. It's a work in progress. It's a takes time before you can really get it and make money. And even when you get it and make money, sometimes it's just trickier than other times. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. We'll see what the next few days bring. You're going to hear, so goes January, so goes the year, so goes this, so goes that. Well, it's the second day of the year, and as of right now, they came in and took some profits, and we'll see what kind of market discovery we have so we can make better decisions based on the action, not just everyone's thoughts. Later, guys.